And we're back. We're here with our guest, Mickey Herbert. We went through his extensive experience as the former CEO of Connecticare and the former CEO and the founder of Physician Health Services, two of the leading private HMOs in the United States. So I wanted to get to this very important question, Mickey, of how does the free market, in your estimation, do a better job than a single-payer system in controlling costs?
Well, actually, a simple answer, very simple answer, too simple answer is it's the same as everywhere else in American industry, where you let the free market reign, just through the sort of invisible hand of the Adam Smithian invisible hand that in capitalism that enables that forces health plans to become more and more efficient, to compete effectively against each other, and in doing so, driving down costs while putting a better product out there in the marketplace. Now, you mentioned in my intro that I'd spent a lot of time looking at basically single-payer systems in other countries, and I have. In fact, I recently came back from a trip to Canada looking at their system, and they, those systems, I believe unequivocally that in the United States we have a superior healthcare system than any of the single-payer systems that exist elsewhere in the free world. Those other systems tend to be ossified. They kind of be frozen in place. They don't have, for example, the new medical equipment and technology that we have in the U.S. They tend to have, in the case of Canada, some 700,000 people on waiting lists. If you want to see a specialist in Canada, you might have to wait 4 months. And by the way, I say that even with great admiration for the Canadian healthcare system, because people in Canada have had that system in place since the 1940s, and they don't really remember any other system, and they're very proud of it. In other words, they've always lived under this system, and they like what they have. So I'm not one to criticize the Canadian system, except to say that it wouldn't work in the United States, not even close. We have very different cultures, and I believe passionately that a single-payer system in this country simply wouldn't work.
Well, then it leads to the question: if the free market is the answer, can private payers now survive under the current version of healthcare reform? Because I think one of the most significant issues in healthcare reform is now that private payers are now going to have to accept any new insureds without necessarily having the opportunity to rate. So if you have two individuals, let's say they're 45 years old, one is a diabetic, the other one is in perfect health, essentially under healthcare reform, they're going to be paying the same type of premium. Yeah. Is this type of system going to throw the private insurance carriers out of business? And ultimately, is this the end game of what healthcare reform is all about?
Well, partial answer to the second question first. I think there are certainly people on the left, the far left, I think, that would like to see the free market system in the United States done away with, and we get to a single-payer system or a European or Canadian system. But I don't think those people are strong enough to ever make it happen, or politically strong enough. Fortunately, the health insurance industry, the health plans in America are very resilient. The fact that we got this huge capital inflow in the 80s and 90s built many very strong health plans, and we will survive. We will adapt. Now, having said that, there are some fundamental changes that I think are essential with Obama, with the Patient Protection Act that is now law in this land. I just don't think you either have to compel virtually all Americans to get health care, the healthy and the unhealthy, or you have to set up some other device so that health plans can indeed survive. We have an interesting thing going on in Massachusetts now where people are required to have health insurance, but what we're finding is people that haven't had insurance in the past are kind of coming in and going out when they need medical care, and the system has been very damaging to the health plans that operate in Massachusetts. A consequence of all this, by the way, is that we're going to see fewer health plans. There are health plans that are not going to make it. In fact, I just this week that in Massachusetts, Harvard Pilgrim and Tufts, two very large and successful health plans in the past, are now going to merge. And I think in part that's because they feel like they need to do that to indeed thrive under the Massachusetts form of what we have now with the Patient Protection Act here in America.
Do you see? I mean, and I know putting bets on the future of what's going to happen in the House of Representatives. Who knows? In politics, what the future will bring. But do you see any way the Republicans controlling the House of Representatives right now? Do you see any way that the Republican-led majority can really stop the Patient Protection Act? I mean, I know there have been a lot of discussions, of course, that repeal is going to be next to impossible. You have a Democratic-controlled Senate, and even if you had a Republican Senate, you'd still need 2/3 to override a veto. Do you think is it just going to be where the Republicans are really going to say, look, we're not going to fund the provisions of the act for it to go forward?
Well, let's put it this way: we certainly live in interesting times. The act will not be repealed during the final 2 years of the first 4 years of the Obama administration for reasons that you just gave. I think the jury's absolutely out under after 2012, after a new presidential election and yet a new Congress and a new Senate. So repeal it, no. Can the bill be starved? Perhaps. I think the way the health insurance industry looks at this is let's look at ways we can change and improve the current act, improve it significantly, and address some of the major problems that exist within the bill, problems for the industry and problems for America. And I'll just give you one example. We're going to now define the benefits that have to be in this is called the essential benefits that have to be in the kind of mandated health plans that the Act compels us to, the benefits that we're compelled to offer. Well, we got to make darn sure that those essential benefits don't include the kitchen sink. We already saw way back when the HMO Act was passed in 1973, that was a major problem, and that the benefits that needed to be provided by HMOs at that time were defined to be way too comprehensive, and it led to a very expensive product, and only over time were we able to offer a more reasonable level of benefits that enabled the HMOs to grow and thrive. So in defining the essential benefits, that's a key part of the Patient Protection Act right now, and hopefully the wiser heads in Washington will define the essential benefits as being somewhat less comprehensive, so healthcare can be affordable for all of us. Otherwise, healthcare premiums are going to skyrocket if we have to provide the kitchen sink to everybody.
We are here with our guest, Mickey Herbert. We're talking about the impact of the healthcare reform law on the private carrier insurance industry. We're going to take a quick break here from our friends at the Chester Company. You're listening to the Healthcare Business Network. That's on the internet, www.hbnradioshow.com. Again, hbnradioshow.com, and we'll be back in a moment.
Revitalize the image of your practice with marketing and communication services from the Chester Company. We specialize in helping you communicate effectively with your patients, whether it's a patient handout that announces a new service or a new website where your patients can conveniently make their own appointments. The Chester Company is here to help you present your practice and its services in the best light possible. Let us show you how. Call for a free, no-obligation consultation. 860-526-9903. 860-526-9903. Call now.